أهلا بيكم في الجزء الثاني من المحاضرة الرابعة لمادة النحو 113 English Grammar. You remember last time we were talking about inverting subjects and verbs with negatives. When I have a negative or an almost negative دي اللي هي rarely, seldom, hardly اللي هي بنقول عليها يعني it's not يعني مش never but almost never. When they come at the beginning of a sentence, the subject and the verb are inverted. طيب. Let's do the exercise on inverting subjects and verbs with negatives coming at the beginning of the sentence. Exercise 17. Let's look together at exercise 17. Each of the following sentences contains a negative or almost negative expression. Put boxes around negatives, underline the subjects once and the verbs twice, and indicate if the sentences are correct or incorrect. طيب احنا دايما بنعملهم مع بعض هنا وبقول and I tell you to try doing the exercise alone and then check what you did in the answer key. لكن تعالوا الأحسن نعملها in the answer key right away علشان يبقى باين لكم على الشاشة لأن هو كده مش هيبان على الشاشة. Let's look at the answer key exercise and this is how we're going to do it from now on. Let's look at the answer key. That's exercise 16 and we want 17. طيب alright. نبص على الجمل دي. Never the man visited his native town. Type. This sentence is incorrect. It's wrong because when you have never at the beginning, you should have the verb coming before the subject. Type. You cannot have visited without the helping verb. The sentence is wrong because the subject and verb should be inverted after negatives. ممكن أقول never did the man visit أو never has the man visited لكن ما ينفعش أقول never the man visited. هو طبعا الأصح إني أقول ولو إن أنا and I don't want to tell you about tenses now but it's better to say never has the man visited. Later on when we study verbs you will know why I chose this. Never has the man visited. Okay. On no occasion did my parents refuse me anything. On no occasion is the negative, so I should have the verb coming before the subject. Did refuse استنوا ما اشوف انا هعرف اعمل خطين ولا لا because refuse is the other part of the verb. Shift Alt no I couldn't. طيب خلاص بقى معلش. On no occasion did my parents refuse. Did my parents مش ضروري نعمل معلش الخطين refuse me anything but the verb is did refuse. طيب. They were not invited to the wedding nor did they expect to be. This is correct. Nor coming in the middle of the sentence, so the verb should come first. Only once in her lifetime got she has full mark. It's not got she has, but it's has she got. It's here only the order of the verb is incorrect. The sentence is wrong because the verb and subject are not in the correct order. Only once in her life has she got full mark. Type. Did he go out of the house at no time? طيب did he go out of the house دي ممكن تبقى سؤال ولو سؤال ما بنقولش at no time. لو سؤال بنقول at any time. Did he go out of the house at no time? طيب at no time I do not have a question here. يبقى المقصود إن at no time should be a negative coming at the beginning of the sentence, and in this sense you should have the verb coming first just as it is. The sentence is wrong because to invert the subject and verb, the negative should come at the beginning of the sentence. يعني هقول at no time did he go out of the house. Type number 6. Seldom أو hardly أو rarely برضو these are almost negatives. Seldom the children have shown such bad behavior. برضو ما بقولش seldom the children have shown لأن يعني I should invert the subject and the verb يبقى have the children shown. Seldom have the children shown such bad behavior. Let's look at number 7, and this is correct. No sooner had I arrived ادي الفعل had arrived الفعل بيجي في الوسط. No sooner had I arrived home than the children arrived from school. He did not arrive late for work nor he left early. And عندي nor is a negative in the middle of the sentence. The verb should come first. The verb should come first يعني I should have a helping verb. مش هقول nor left he early nor did he leave early. Alright? طيب let's look at number 9. barely زي hardly زي rarely زي seldom اللي هي معناها نادرا يعني it's an almost negative. Rarely had they arrived when it started to rain heavily. Barely, as for barely, it's the same. The police did not arrive in time to save the girl, and neither did the paramedics, المسعفين. خدوا بالكم إن دايما الفعل تحته خطين والفعل تحته خط. Neither did the paramedics. طيب ساعات نقول the police did not arrive in time وساعات on time. ايه الفرق بين الاثنين؟ يعني بما انها جت اقولها لكم. طيب in time يعني في الوقت المناسب لكن on time يعني في الوقت المحدد. تهيألي what we need here is something in time not on time. اقول مثلا I arrived on time for the lecture. on time يعني أنا جيت في الوقت المحدد المظبوط. لكن لما أقول some of the students arrived in time for the lecture يعني in time for the lecture يعني جم مثلا متأخرين 5 دقايق كده ولا حاجة لكن يعتبر الوقت المناسب. طيب we move now to skill number 18. نشوف ايه تاني يعني in what other cases we invert the subject and the verb. طيب subjects and verbs are inverted with conditionals. انتوا عارفين الconditionals اللي هي if. The adverb clauses with if when two actions depend on each other. طيب. In conditional clauses where the helping verb is had, should, or were, the if connector may be omitted and the verb and subject are inverted. يعني ايه؟ ساعات يبقى عندي يعني انتوا دايما تقولوا conditional clauses or if clauses. With if clauses or in conditionals, sometimes we have these verbs had, should, or were. But we have other verbs as well. Now, in the case of had, should, or were, لو هي دي الأفعال اللي عندي في الconditional clause التلاتة دول بس I may omit if and I invert the subject and the verb. نبص على الجمل دي. If I had taken more time the paper البحث would have been better. ممكن I can omit if, and in this sense I should invert the subject and the verb. Had I taken more time, notice that when the verb has two parts, when you invert it, the subject comes between the two parts. Had I taken more time, the paper would have been better time. I would come if I were able to. I would come if I were able to. I would come, I omit if, were I able to. If you should arrive early, start the meeting. If you should arrive early, start the meeting. I omit if and start with should arrive. وما دام ببتدي بshould arrive الفعل يبقى the subject comes in between the two parts. Should you arrive early, start the meeting. طيب نشوف المثال ده. The paper would have been better if more time. If more time ما عنديش فعل. More time had been taken. طيب أنا ما عنديش if. Had taken more time. Had taken more time يعني يا إما يبقى عندي passive يا إما يبقى عندي subject فما تنفعش. يبقى had more time been taken. هي دي الصح. طيب A is wrong because it has no verb. B is wrong because it has no connector. C is wrong because it has no connector and no subject. D is correct because the verb and the subject are inverted and no connector is needed in this case. If the subject and the verb are inverted, I do not need the connector. Now, let's look at exercise 18 again in the answer key so that you can see the boxes and the lines and so on. Exercise 18. Each of the following sentences contains a conditional. Put the conditionals in boxes or put empty brackets where if has been omitted. Yani, where the connector has been omitted, we are going to put empty brackets. Underline the subjects once and the verbs twice in the conditional clauses, مش في كل الجملة, and indicate if the sentences are correct or incorrect. Were my parents more understanding, it would have been easier to talk to them. طيب. الفعل, the verb comes before the subject, my parents, ليه? Because I have no connector, so I should invert the subject and the verb, and the verb is where. وأنا عندي should, were, and had. هم اللي ممكن يعني I can invert and omit conditionals. طيب. There is money in the drawer. If, should you need any while I am away. طيب. If I have the connector if, I should not invert the subject and the verb. The sentence is wrong. وخليها واضحة برضو. The sentence is wrong because subject and verb should not be inverted when if is not omitted. يعني يا إما أقول there is money in the drawer. Should you need any while I am away? يا إما أقول there is money in the drawer if you. ساعتها يجي الفاعل الأول if you should need any while I'm away. طيب. نبص على نمرة 3. Has she enough money left? She would buy a car. This sentence is wrong. أولا كان لازم يعني مفروض ده المكان اللي كان هيبقى فيه الكونكتور. if ما دام اتشال يبقى ممكن اجيب الفاعل بعد الفعل، لكن انا ما اقدرش اقول has، انا ممكن اقول had she enough money left she would buy a car. The sentence is wrong because the form of the verb is incorrect. كمان بعد كده احنا لما هناخد الكونديشنال لما هناخد التنسز بعد كده هتلاقوا ان انا with would I use، يعني when this is the second conditional لما بستعمل would، ويمكن انتوا خدتوا ده طبعا في ثانوي ويمكن حتى في اعدادي، ما دام بستعمل would يبقى بستعمل قبل كده past simple اللي هو had، اللي هو ممكن استعمله هنا علشان اشيل if. يبقى had she enough money she would buy a car. Let's look at number 4. had we known، طبعا if كان بيجي في الأول، شلناه يبقى جبنا الفعل في الأول. had we known what happened we would have been there to help. he would like to know، كان لازم يبقى هنا if فكانت هتبقى he would like to know if I could change shifts with him. طيب if I could change shifts with him، لكن ما ينفعش ان انا اشيل الكونكتور وانا عندي and invert the subject and the verb when the verb is could. It's only in 3 cases: could, should, had, and were. The sentence is wrong because subjects and verbs are inverted only with had, should, and were. يبقى he would like to know if I could. I cannot here omit the connector if and invert the subject and verb. طيب. We would have been in big trouble had not we delivered the work on time. ما بقولش had not، هي يعني if we had not. If we had not. So we are omitting if، يبقى هجيب الفعل الأول، لكن ما بقولش had not we delivered، بقول had we not delivered. had we not delivered. not بتيجي مع الفعل مش مع helping verb. The sentence is wrong because the word order of subject and verb is not correct. We would have been in trouble had we not delivered. Let's look at number 7. If your friends come, they will stay at a hotel. طيب دي جملة صح. There is no inversion because I have the connector if. He might get a better mark if was he more hardworking. برضو أنا ما أقدرش أقول was he more hardworking، أنا أقول were he more hardworking وأشيل if. طيب ممكن تقولوا يعني ليه، يعني إزاي أقول were مع he. طيب إن مع he بنستعمل was، لا إحنا ممكن نقول يعني with if clauses ما بستعملش was. I always use were because this بيتقال إن this is something which is an impossible situation فبنستعمل مع were and not was. The sentence is wrong because the verb should be were and not was. The use of were with singular nouns is correct in conditional sentences. يعني بقول he would have he might get a better mark were he more hardworking. لكن زي ما هي كده طبعا the sentence is incorrect. ممكن أقول were he more hardworking. Alright? طيب let's look at number 9. Should you ever go to the desert again? طيب should جت في الأول يبقى كان لازم يبقى فيه هنا 2 brackets if you should كانت if you should ever go، لكن أنا شلنا if فبقت الفعل قبلها. Should you ever go to the desert again, I would be delighted to join you. Let's look at number 10. Do you think that she would come were she invited to the party? This is correct. لأن لو كان if كنا هنقول if she، وقلنا بقى إن with conditionals، and because conditionals معناها إن this is an impossible situation، ما بيحصلش بنتخيل إنه حصل، فمش بنستعمل was، دايما نستعمل were مع كل الضمائر. This is correct. Do you think that she would come were she invited to the party? But this sentence is correct. Type. We move now to the last case where we invert subjects and verbs اللي هي with comparisons. Subjects and verbs may be inverted after a comparison. In comparisons, 3 forms are correct in English. Inverting the subject and the verb is one case of 3 correct cases. The train takes more hours to Luxor than the plane. وممكن أقول the train takes more hours to Luxor than the plane does without inversion. ممكن أقول the train takes more hours to Luxor than does the plane. طبعا does دي معناها ايه؟ معناها takes، لكن مش هقول than the plane takes. than the plane takes مجرد ان انا اقول than the plane does معناها than the plane takes، لكن ال3 حالات صح. All 3 examples are correct in English. We can have the subject only, and it is understood that the verb applies to both subjects. مادام بقى عندي في comparison، مادام قلت الفعل مرة لأول subject يبقى معناه إنه it applies to the other subject. We can have the subject followed by the verb, and we can invert the subject and the verb, which is more formal in English. الكتابة more sophisticated أو more formal اللي رسمية أكتر اللي هي inverting the subject and the verb. Let's look at the example. The results of the current negotiations are more promising than the results of the previous talks. طيب أنا عندي then them the results طبعا them لا then where then they were then were they. طبعا مش هستعمل أي حاجة فيها they لأن أنا عندي the results اللي هي الفاعل، يبقى أنا محتاجة where بس. طيب الجملة زي ما هي كده يعني the sentence as it is correct but I have a blank. أنا عندي هنا blank يبقى لازم أحط فيها حاجة. فإيه اللي هيتحط فيها؟ يبقى then were the results of the previous talks. لكن ممكن أقول the results of the current talk negotiations are more promising than were the results of the previous talks. وممكن أقول than the results of the previous talks وخلاص. وممكن أقول than the results of the previous talks were. Alright? The sentence is correct as it is, like the first case in the previous example. If there is a blank that we have to fill, only a verb is needed. This is correct only of choice B. Type. Let's look at exercise 19 again in the answer key. Type. Each of the following sentences contains a comparison. Put the comparisons in boxes. Underline the subjects once and the verbs twice in the clauses that follow. indicate if the sentences are correct or incorrect. All right, let's look at exercise 19. Each of the following sentences contains a comparison. Put the comparisons in boxes, underline the subjects once, and the verbs twice in the clauses that follow. Indicate if the sentences are correct or incorrect. Type. Elections have attracted more voters than have other elections in the past. Type. More than, this is the comparison expression. بعد كده we have the verb followed by the subject. Elections have attracted more voters than. السبجكت هو ايه؟ السبجكت هو other elections. فممكن اقول than other elections in the past، وممكن اقول than other elections in the past have، وممكن اقول than have other elections in the past. التلاتة صح. طيب طيب ادي واحدة كويس انها غلط. نشوف الغلطة جاية من فين. We were much more attracted to the film than did the younger viewers. More than is the comparison expression. Right? More attracted to the film than did the younger viewers. طيب أنا هنا عندي فعل اللي هو did. طيب أنا كان صح إن أنا أقول we were much more attracted to the film than the younger viewers من غير الفعل، وممكن أحط الفعل inverted as it is here، وممكن أقول we were much more attracted to the film than the younger viewers did. بس هي المشكلة إن did is not the correct verb. Did is a wrong verb. لأن أنا بقول we were attracted. Attracted is something, it's يعني شوفوا I always like to tell my students that لأن بلاقي إن في الناس ساعات تلخبط the verb do and the verb be. شوفوا there are things that we be and there are things that we do. With the things that we be الحاجات اللي بنكونها بنستعمل verb to be. الحاجات اللي بنعملها بنستعمل do. طيب we were much more attracted. طيب attracted دي is something we do or something we be. منجذبين. Is it something it's an adjective, so it is something we be, it's not something we do. ف يعني we are attracted, we were attracted، لكن مش we did attracted. يبقى الصح اني اقول ايه؟ We were much more attracted to the film than were the younger viewers، اللي هي الجمع، الفعل الجمع viewers، than were the younger viewers أو than the younger viewers or than the younger viewers were. Alright? طيب. The sentence is wrong because the verb is wrong. مفروض تبقى we were much more attracted to the film than were the younger viewers. طيب هو اختيار الفعل اللي غلط. طيب the pizza we ate at Domino's was far tastier than any other pizza. طيب the pizza we ate at Domino's was far tastier than any other pizza. far than هي ال comparison expression. far tastier than any other pizza. طيب ممكن أقول any other pizza and it's correct، لكن ممكن أقول إيه كمان؟ than any other pizza، و any is singular يبقى was، than any other pizza was، وممكن أقول than was any other pizza. طيب نشوف نمرة 4. Groceries bought at the market are far cheaper than are those bought at metros. طيب البقالة يعني groceries البقالة bought at the market are far cheaper than. far than هي ال comparison expression. طيب أنا قلت are يبقى هو برضو نفس الفعل. than are those bought at metros. يا إما أقول than are those bought at metros، يا إما than those bought at metros، يا إما أقول than those bought at metros are. طيب يعني إيه metros؟ الأبوستروف هنا اس دي معناها إيه؟ طيب في الإنجليزي حاجات كتير لما تبقى مفهومة مش ضروري أكررها. ويعني it's better style not to repeat where you can omit. الأسلوب الأحسن إن أنا ما أكررش الحاجة اللي ممكن أحذفها. طيب هنا مثلا it's understood إني لما أقول than those bought at metros. metros الأبوستروف اس دي معناها إيه؟ الأبوستروف اس دي معناها يعني what belongs to metro. what belongs to metro is the store. يعني معناها مثلا at metro's store، اللي زي ما اقول مثلا I am having dinner at my friend apostrophe s. طيب I'm having dinner at my friends، او I am invited at my friends هنا دي الابوستروف اس دي معناها ايه؟ at my، انتوا عارفين انها بتاعت الملكيه يعني لازم يجي وراها، يعني ما اقول مثلا احمد's mother. طيب at my friends ايه؟ at my friend's house. انا هتعزم فين الا at her house، يبقى at my friend's house. لما اقول مثلا I'm going to I have an appointment، عندي ميعاد I have an appointment at the dentist. the dentist دكتور السنان وبعدين apostrophe s، يبقى معناها ايه؟ at the dentist's clinic. طيب I'm going to the butcher's، الجزار butcher apostrophe s، يبقى معناها برضو I'm going to the butcher's shop. alright. طيب الحاجات المفهومة دي بعد الابوستروف s عادة بنحذفها. Let's look at number 5. I am sorry that circumstances now are as bad as circumstances before. طيب as bad as or as is the comparison expression. I am sorry that circumstances now are as bad as circumstances before. are هي verb to be برضو، أنا هستعمل verb to be، لكن لأنها as circumstances before يبقى before is past tense. يا إما ممكن أسيب الجملة زي ما هي، يا إما لو عايزة أستعمل الفعل طبعا برضو هيبقى verb to be but because it is circumstances before is past tense يبقى هقول as circumstances before were أو as were circumstances before. طيب let us look at number 6. We thought that our party could get many more votes than any of the other parties. We thought that our party could get many more votes than, many more than هي expression of the comparison. We thought that our party الحزب بتاعنا could get many more votes than any of the other parties. افتكرنا ان هم ممكن ياخدوا اصوات، الحزب بتاعنا كان ممكن ياخد اصوات اكتر بكتير من الاحزاب التانية. طيب لو انا عايزة احط الفعل we thought that our party could get many more votes than ايه الفعل اللي عندي؟ could. ولما اقول could هقول could بس وما اقولش could get. Then could any of the other parties او then any of the other parties could. ليه ما اقولش could get؟ لان could هي مرتبطة في الجملة ب get. يبقى لما اقول could بس معناها could get. This is a case, another case of omitting what you can omit because it's better style. مادام اقدر احذف حاجة يبقى الاسلوب هيبقى احسن لو حذفتها. مش هقول could get than any of the other parties could. Let's look at number 7. طبعا انتوا شايفين ان معظم الجمل هنا are correct. ليه؟ لان الثلاث حالات ممكن يبقوا صح. The soup is not as spicy as the one we had at the restaurant. Spicy يعني فيها توابل كتير يعني. As time. The soup is not as spicy as the one we had at the restaurant. ايه الفعل ايه؟ ممكن اقول as was لان انا بقول is يعني verb to be. التانية it's something we had بقت past tense. يبقى the soup is not as spicy as was the one we had at the restaurant أو as the one we had at the restaurant was. Alright? طيب. Underline the subjects once and the verbs twice. Sometimes they were not. طيب. يعني this is the verb that should be omitted, that should be underlined. معلش. طيب. طيب تعالوا فين الفعل هنا؟ The soup is not as spicy as the one we had. طيب الفعل هنا هو is اللي هو يا اما بنقوله مع the other subject of the comparison او ما بنقولوش. طيب تعالوا نشوف هنا. I caught twice as many fish as anyone else did. Twice as many as ده ال comparison expression. Anyone is the subject and did is the verb اللي هي بتعادل ايه؟ بتعادل caught لأن caught is past simple tense. So when I want to use the verb in this comparison يبقى هستعمل ايه؟ هستعمل الفعل المساعد اللي بيمشي مع caught. مش هقول as anyone else caught، هقول as anyone else did. طيب يبقى كان ممكن اقول I caught twice as many fish as did anyone else, or I caught twice as many fish as anyone else, or I caught twice as many fish as anyone else did. طيب many fish ما بقولش many. I do not say many fishes. Fish is a singular word which gives a plural meaning. يعني أقول مثلا at dinner I ate 2 fish. ما بقولش I ate 2 fishes. زي كلمة fruit برضو. يعني طيب يعني امتى بستعمل الجمع مع كلمة زي fish or fruit؟ أقول مثلا I have 3 golden fishes in a pot. When you're talking about the fishes as pets. لكن السمك اللي بناكله ده يعني أقول 3 fish أو 4 fish. لكن I have 3 golden fishes in a pot at home. لأن أنا يعني I'm talking about the fishes as pets. كل واحدة فيهم ليها أهمية. طيب أقول I like to eat many fruit أو much fruit. ما بقولش fruits، بنقول fruits لما بنكون بنقصد she bought a lot of fruit. ما بنقولش she bought a lot of fruits، she bought a lot of fruit. لكن ممكن أقول مثلا in the market now we can find many exotic fruits. فواكه، أنواع فواكه غريبة. لكن لو بتكلم على الفاكهة نفسها بقول she bought a lot of fruit مش a lot of fruits. Fish is the same. طيب. Alright, let's look at number 9. The last project brought in مش عايزاكم تشوفوا الحل. طيب. The last project brought in more money than had any of the previous investments. طيب. يعني ان المشروع الاخير brought in more money دخل فلوس اكتر بكتير than had any of the previous investments. طيب ده غلط، الجملة دي غلط ليه؟ طيب انتوا عارفين يعني I have a verb اللي هو had but the verb should always be the same as the verb in the other part of the comparison. يعني أنا لما أقول the last project brought in more money يبقى برضو أقول the others brought in more money. دايما أهم حاجة هي tense of the verb. طيب أنا مش بعيد الفعل تاني زي ما قلنا إن it's always better style to omit where you can omit. يعني ما دام ممكن أحذف الحاجة بحذفها، ده يبقى أسلوب أحسن. طيب يبقى هقول the last project brought in more money. brought is past simple tense. ممكن أقول than any of the previous investments وما يبقاش عندي فعل، لكن لو جبت الفعل لازم أجيب الفعل صح، هو نفس الفعل. ومش نفس الفعل، ما بقولش than any of the previous investments brought، لا أنا بشوف brought ده which tense وأنهي فعل مساعد اللي يمشي معاه وهو ده اللي بحطه. فهقول brought is past simple tense يبقى لازم أقول did، ما أقولش had. had كانت تبقى صح إمتى؟ لو كانت the last project had brought in more money than had any of the previous investments. لكن إذا كانت past simple يبقى the verb is did. يبقى the last project brought in more money than did any of the previous investments or than any of the previous investments did or وعشان بقى الناس مش عايزة تغلط فما تجيبش مجال للغلط تقول than any of the previous investments وخلاص. بس لازم نبقى عارفين الحاجات الصح التانية ايه. نقرأ بقى. The sentence is wrong because the form of the verb is not correct. It should be the same tense of the verb in the main clause. يبقى than did any of the previous investments. طيب تعالوا نشوف نمرة 10. It's correct. طيب do you know why does she need to work many more hours than do the others? طيب do هنا دي يعني السؤال هنا than do the others هو السؤال على do دي؟ لا السؤال على do you know. do you know question mark. طيب نيجي للي باقي بقى. why do you know why أولا the sentence دي is incorrect وهقول لكم ليه دلوقتي. Do you know why does she need؟ طيب احنا قلنا do you know دي السؤال اللي عايز الكويستشن مارك ففي inversion do you know. طيب why does she need؟ why does she need ولا why she needs؟ أولا why is not a question word. why here is a connector. يبقى why طيب نشوف الفعل التاني صح ولا لا. يبقى why مش why she needs why does she need لا مفيش inversion. يبقى why she needs عشان تبقى الجملة صح. أسفة. ونرجع نعمل دي، نعملها بقى correct. Do you know why she needs to work many more hours than do the others؟ do دي موازية لإيه؟ then do the others, then the others have to work, then need the others to work. هي مساوية ل needs. needs طبعا it's present simple with an S لأنها she، لكن the others مش هتبقى does، هتبقى do. then do the others. do هي التنس بتاع needs but you have a plural subject فهقول do. لو كانت مثلا he فهتبقى do you know why she needs to work many more hours than does he أو than he does أو than he. لكن إذا كانت others then do the others أو than the others. Alright? طيب, that completes the fourth lecture of our course, Grammar 113. We meet next time for lecture number 5. Alright, that completes the last part of our fourth lecture of Grammar 1, number 113. We meet next time for lecture 5. Thank you very much. We meet again.